Have you ever thought about the letters chametz and matzah? Right? If we think about the letters chametz and matzah, they're all identical. All of the oisios, the letters, they share the same letters, right? You have the ches, you have the mem, and the tzet, right? The only difference between the letters is the letter hey and ches. Okay? So all of the letters are similar. The only difference is hey and ches. Even these two letters that are different, they're completely similar except for one little line over there. The hey and the ches. Okay. What is the significance of the similarities between these words chametz and matzah? They're as close as you could possibly get to one another. What are the similarities?
Flour and water.
How could you explain this? How could you explain these similarities? There's no such thing as coincidence. So how could a person explain this? These are one of those questions that just no one thinks about. So we're going to try to provide three answers over here. Let's start with the light one. One of my favorites, the Ma'am Lois. Ma'am Lois writes in his Haggadah on the section over here of basically that all the rabbis of Adam Hayinu, basically the section over there. He says like this. We know that the Jews that were there reached a very low level. They were on the 49th level of impurity, of tumah. If they would have went any lower, then they would have never came out. We would have never came out. Would have never happened. Well-known idea. There was a lot of assimilation, learning the ways of the evil ways of the Egyptians, etc. And that was a major issue over there. This is the difference between chametz and matzah. Even though they're polar opposites, they're spelled exactly the same except for that little difference like we just said. A drop of ink, that's the only difference between them. This is the difference between the survival of us and the annihilation. It's a very small difference. That's what it symbolizes, the small difference. In other words, person will say, well, it's the same ingredients, just a little bit of a time difference. Now, that little bit of a time difference could go a long way. We would have never came out if we would have been there a little bit longer. Never, ever came out.
That's his pshat. That's why.
That's his pshat. That's right. Based on what the Alshich writes in Shmos, in Yud Beis Yud Tes, the Alshich says the same exact idea. And this symbolizes the importance of precision. 18 minutes exactly, the matzah can't be baked any longer than 18 matzahs, than 18 mitzvahs. This is the idea over here. The same thing over here. When it comes to the yeitzer, we know that chametz symbolizes the yeitzer. Many places. The idea is that we have to be very precise when it comes to our evil inclination over here. A lot of times we'll say, I'm just making a small decision. What's the big deal? I'm not making a major decision over here. This is a small decision. What's the big deal if I do it, if I don't do it? No. The small decisions matter in life, as we've discussed multiple times in the past as well. Many times the main path that a person chooses in life is based on one small step that he takes in the right or wrong direction. The lesson is that we have to be careful not to underestimate the importance of small decisions. Every single small mitzvah deed that we do matters. Every little bit that we learn, every little bit that we daven. That's why we have to consult with talmid chachamim before we make decisions. A third answer is brought up by one of my favorites from it's an Imai Haskama, Rabbi Karelinstien, Rosh Hashiva of Lakewood, also quotes from him a lot. This is Rabbi Karelinstien in his Kuntres Beinyani chodesh nisan chag Hapesach. He has around 20 pages in the second siman of the Sefer over here, the second mimer. I was actually thinking about going through the whole thing, but I think it's going to be too long. People aren't going to be interested. Take one nakuda that he talks about over here on page Chav Gimel to Chav Dalid. This is in Maimer Beis, Siman Beis towards the end. breaks it into sections. And he says over here like this. The difference between the letters chametz and matzah are very small. The Svas Emes in Pesach in Tafrei Shlamet Aleph quotes a Zohar in Parshas Pinchas that says that this alludes to that the difference between chametz and matzah is very small, like we just said. Just like the letters, it's a small difference. Like we just said, the difference between chametz and matzah is a small amount of time. If you only wait a little bit, if you leave the matzah in there too long, it's already chametz. It's no good. This shows in ben yeitzer hara yeitzer tov ela kechut hasayra bilvad. The only difference between our yeitzer hara and yeitzer tov, our good inclination or evil inclination, is a hair's breadth, a chut hasayra. That's it. Because if we grant and give the possibility for our evil inclination to enter, even a little bit, even like a blade of hair, the chut hasayra, it could completely rule over us, completely guard over us. Perhaps this could be what Chazal mean when they say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is medactic with tzaddikim. He's very precise with the tzaddikim, even kechut hasayra, even like a strand of hair, because everything depends on this one strand of hair. Perhaps we could explain based on this the idea of why tarubos chametz is going to be prohibited. Even a mixture of chametz is prohibited, and it's learned out from the pasuk kol machmeses lo yisaychel. Take a look at the Gemara in Pesachim on Daf Mem Beis Amar Aleph Mem Gimel Amar Aleph. This refers to what we just said, that the chametz is the evil inclination. Even if it's mixed, even a little bit amount that's mixed in of chametz, it's going to be prohibited and it's going to be a problem. Because any shaychus, any connection to chametz is a great spiritual danger. The Tikkun Zohar says that the chametz, this is on Daf Nun Amar Beis, that the chametz is like the Erev Rav. Meaning, just like the Erev Rav mixed in with the Jews and messed them up after the Exodus, so too the chametz. We see at the time of Ikvasa de Mashiach that when we're on the heels of Mashiach coming, we have the neshamas of the Erev Rav. They're trying to mess us up, like the Vilna Gaon discusses in his Evin Shleima. The chametz is the yeitzer. If you mix just a little bit into a person, it could mess him up completely. Therefore, we need to be careful to clean ourselves from any trace of the evil inclination. We have to clean ourselves completely. We see that detaching from the chametz is very difficult and a long, slow task. It takes a tremendous amount of effort and work to clean the house and to clean all the areas. It takes a lot of time. Room after room, closet after closet, drawer after drawer. It takes a tremendous amount of time and energy. After Pesach, what happens? Within moments, the whole house gets destroyed. Chametz is everywhere again. It's like kids when they're playing the toys. The toys come off the shelf fast. Going back, that's another story over here. In such a small time, the chametz just goes everywhere again in the house. That's the same thing with the yeitzer hara. That what? Removing it is a very difficult process, but it could easily come back in if we allow a little bit of room. You said an idea over on Rosh Hashanah. It's in Tov Kuf Pei Gimel. We were learning those halachas. It's on the Rosh Hashanah playlist. It's going to be Tov Kuf Pei Gimel. So it's going to be 583. We discuss over there that there's a custom, the Ramah writes, not to eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah, and egos, maybe a walnut. Why? Well-known idea, because it has the same gematria as chet. Really, the gematria is off by
It's
one.
Tov.
By the way. Oh,
Same
David
word as Tov.
remembers. What do you mean? Egos is the same gematria as Tov. Why are we only looking at the bed? Oh, so Rashi, we spoke that over there. There's a Haggah in Rashi on Sefer Yeshaya that says that what? If there's bad mixed in with the good, get rid of it. You have to be very, very careful with this idea. And a person has to be honest with himself and his yeitzer hara and make guidelines to make sure that he stays away from what he's supposed to be staying away from. That is 3 explanations regarding what the similarities between the letters of chametz and matzah teach us, because they're all the same letters except for the hey and the ches, the small difference. Those are three answers.